might join us. But
He's right there.
oh, great. I love that. You want to do the housekeeping?
Yeah. So good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us in this hybrid meeting formats. And just a quick couple notes on housekeeping before we begin this evening's meeting. For members of the public who are joining the meeting via computer, device, or phone, please be advised that your microphone, webcam, and phone are automatically muted when you enter the meeting as an attendee. If you wish to participate during the public comment portion of the meeting and haven't already done so, please raise your virtual hand now to join the speakers queue in one of two ways. For those viewing the meeting on a computer, laptop, or other device, click once on the blue hand icon. For those listening to the meeting on their phone, press *9. We will lower your hands as speakers are called upon. When the public comment begins, we will announce your name and unmute your microphone. You will have 2 minutes to speak, after which your microphone will again be muted. Regarding the chat and QA functionality of Zoom, please note that attendees will not be able to use these features. Lastly, in accordance with the passage of HB 4212, this meeting will be recorded and recordings will be posted to the Sustainability Commission websites. I wanted to again thank everybody for their continued patience, flexibility, and good humor as we continue to find ways to meet safely and hear from members of the community. As always, you can contact the Sustainability Commission if there is testimony you are not able to provide or wish to get to the commission in a different format. And with that, I turn the meeting over to Chair Anna.
Thanks, Ian. So our first item is to review and approve the agenda. Anyone want a motion to approve the agenda?
Okay.
Okay, all in favor? All opposed? Okay, the agenda is approved. So our next item is the Beyond Land Acknowledgement. I want to share 2 upcoming events with you. The first one is there's a Poetry in the Park event happening on May 3rd. It's in honor of Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women's Day. And it is at Herons Head Park in Springfield. It's sponsored by the Illico Native Theater and the U of O Native American and Indigenous Studies community. And if you want to support in your personal lives ending violence against Indigenous women, there is an organization called the National Indigenous Women's Resource Center. And they also do a virtual week of action around May 1st. And you can find them on the web. And the second event I wanted to share is there is another powwow coming up. It's the Mother's Day powwow, May 12th to 14th at U of O MacArthur Court. So it's Friday evening and then Saturday. And that is it. Our next item is an action item. It is approving the March meeting minutes.
I approve.
Second. Or why not? All in favor? Anyone standing aside? Great. So now we are at public comment. Is there anybody who wants to speak from the public? Okay. We're moving into.
Yeah.
Oh, public comment.
So this is kind of awkward, but you know, we get those online submittal forms and where do we ever address them in our meeting? Because the one that we just got today requires a response. It was, so it would be helpful if we knew how that's getting responded to, or is if we provide any input, because that's a kid who's going for a Boy Scout badge who wants to earn a badge related to the environment person. So that's great.
Yeah, and I wanted to revisit that email. We can talk about it now, but yeah, I mean, is this something where, you know, there would be an interest or willingness by a commission member to actually participate in a call, you know, with this person? Did everybody see the message? You know. Okay. So this just came in literally an hour ago. A young man by the name of Douglas Vaughn emailed the Sustainability Commission and said, "Hi, my name is Douglas. I'm a Boy Scout with Troop 12. I'm trying to get the Citizenship and the Community Merit Badge, and I need to speak with someone on the Sustainability Commission. I have to complete an interview in order to get my merit badge. Will there be somebody who could call my mom after 3 p.m. this Friday? I have several questions I would like to ask. Her name is Sean Marie Long, and her phone number is I hope to hear from somebody after 3 p.m. on Thursday. Thank you so much.
Kind of a confusion on date, which is interesting. Yes. But other than that,
And kind of our general policy is that you take care of it and then we can like say we want to be involved, but when things come in, it's the assumption is you're going to.
Yes, but they've asked for a commission
Yeah.
member specifically, so I'm asking if there's a member of the commission who would like to speak with this young person. Otherwise, I'm happy to, call and speak with him.
There's somebody, or
Anybody?
someone on the commission.
Someone on the commission, yes.
Anybody on the commission? Want to speak to this person?
It's after 3 p.m. on Thursday or Friday?
We don't know.
Friday.
Okay. I don't know if I can do that on Friday, but I could on
2 different days.
Thursday.
So I didn't have a chance to follow up with him on which day would be perfect for him. So is there somebody,
Are you at the CAB?
there's a bit of a room mix up, so.
I'm just curious because she's on my board of ABAE, so I'm just, what's going on over there?
All kinds of budget decks, so they don't know what they're. I mean, budget.
Well, if we can clarify, I would be willing to, I can talk after 3 p.m. Does it have to be directly after 3 p.m.?
It's just I'm reading it as sometime after 3 p.m. I can clarify that. I was not able to get in touch with this person.
If we can clarify if it's Thursday, then I can volunteer to do that.
Yeah, the number to call his mom to work out the timing and details is in the email.
Okay.
Hey, anybody want to be a backup if timing doesn't work out?
Sure, I'll be back up.
Yes, as general process, yes, this is something when we get messages, staff handles, and if it's something that comes before the commission, we bring it to the commission or something. This was something that explicitly asked to speak to a member of the commission, so it was
But
something.
we get, I mean,
So this was the
It's
first
something-
message I've seen in probably 6 weeks to that email address.
So-
We don't get them very often.
but when we get them, is
Oh,
it something that we can take like 2 seconds to talk about at a meeting, or is it just something we expect that you'll handle, or, I mean.
I think it's up to the commission how you'd like staff to handle that. I think if it's something that seems like it's directed to staff, we've gotten a message, so there've been a couple messages sent from other city staff asking questions to this report. I've just handled that directly because it didn't necessarily need the commission to weigh in on that. I have felt that if it needs the commission to weigh in, I would bring it to the table or put it in front of the commission for you all to decide how you want to handle it. We can handle it a different way if you prefer that also, but I'm fine with whatever the commission would prefer on that.
And how about if somebody feels like they want to be involved, they read it, want to be involved, they just contact me, but we know that it's being dealt with.
I would suggest that to me, it seems like another form of public comment. That's not commenting at the meetings, but it's commenting via the website. And I would hope we might give a little bit of time under the same agenda item. Because to me, it's just a written form of comment as opposed to logging into a meeting. The ones that come from other, departments and stuff, that's not really the public. But if we're getting comments from the public via our website, I think it's worth us taking a look at them and see what they have to say. Some of them may be, they commented and we move on, but that would be my suggestion.
Is it possible to just create a space in the agenda on a regular basis to see if anyone wants to comment on or respond to any of those?
Well, we have that as a public
We
comment.
can just do it.
Oh, that's what you're saying. Sorry.
That's what I'm saying. Just consider
that makes
that as a form of public comment.
Sorry, I wasn't following.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, it sounds.
So if there's so if I can clarify, if there's a timing issue, let's say somebody emails tomorrow or something, would you want it to wait until the next meeting to introduce that in front of the public?
You could share it with us.
Yes, we should be all receiving this, and if you're
We
not.
would
you
be
should-
receiving them anyway. And if there's something that would require a response, then we may have to email that.
Okay.
Otherwise, I think it would wait.
Councilor Semple.
I don't know quite where this has ended up, but it seems to me we all get the emails. And at the end we answer them, then at our meeting, we would already have a list of what we've gotten and then we wanted to read it out to, the public record here or comment on it. That would get you some time to do it.
Yeah, that was my intention, Counselor, was to just call attention to them.
Okay, good idea.
Acknowledge it was
Yeah, that's
received.
consistent.
I thought maybe we were gonna have an emergency meeting to like.
No,
I just wanted to clear.
as someone who gets more public comment than we will ever get.
When do we have to answer this?
Definitely do that.
And just something, if it seems like it doesn't need to be read out at a meeting, just in the interest of time, and like some people may not actually know that emailing, that legally, of course, it's to the, they may not realize it's gonna be read out in a recorded meeting to whoever wants to watch it on YouTube. I mean, I would be a little sensitive to that, like somebody might think by emailing, they're not having their name and their concern or whatever shared in this space, so maybe it'd be worth asking them, would you like us, this is what we're doing now, would you like us to read it out loud? And since we haven't in the past, because I would feel like it might not be what the person wanted or intended.
That's fair. And we get emails from 2 different places. So we get emails to this general account that all commissioners get. We also get, we haven't had them in a while, that are requests for funding through the Green Fund. And so those are basically 2 separate ways in which the public can actually contact the commission. So I will clarify that and get back to Mitra initially, and then Dennis as a backup. Thanks for both.
So we did our response to public comment. And is the EWA presentation going to be virtual? No, are they? Is Korea at 6? We are, oh no, we have counselor communication first.
Well, we're back from break, and so we're looking at work sessions. Today, we talked about the health overlay zone that was originally planned for around Bethel and West Eugene. Introduced the idea of making it possibly more citywide, and protect everyone's health. It will be extremely complicated if we do that, and even a small part is complex. But we also found out that it may be possible to make the adjustments to get the results we want by changing code. And says what you can do in the zone rather than changing the zone. So we're going to come back with some more information and suggestions about how we might do that. We also talked about planning for Bethel, the University, Santa Clara, and the road. The final plan for about 3-4 years, about to wrap it up. And then 5 years ago, University was next on the list, but then there was mentioned Bethel. So we're not sure how we're going to work that out. There's a lot of neighborhood areas that we could use some planning, and they take a lot of time. So how we'll get around to it. You probably heard that the Ninth Circuit Court turned down Portland's electrification.
Berkeley.
Berkeley, thank you. Anyway, it's still Ninth Circuit that affects us. And so everything's kind of still on hold. We'll still have the referendum ballot measure until something happens, and if there's an appeal, then things could change. But it kind of looks like that news. We talked about urban renewal reserves and passed that plan of urban reserves. So some people are very concerned that that meant they were definitely going to be developed in these areas. And it doesn't mean that. It just means that when we get to the point where we feel we might want to expand a bit, those are the areas we would look at first. They can sort of initially study, but nothing would go forward without a lot of outreach and a lot more studies. So people can take a breath about that. We also talked about urban renewal for downtown and having sort of extending the urban renewal district for a limit of 150, which sounds really, really big, but with inflation and supply chain and desperate need for housing. It would be mostly for housing, but also some open space and safety concerns. What happens with it? And then also the downtown is where we get most of our property tax, so it makes sense to put And also the state is wanting us to increase densities, especially in downtowns. So, you know, that's good. That's part of this. We are wanting to put it together downtown anyway. So I'm really hopeful that this is gonna stimulate a lot more housing, which is what we need downtown, to get people downtown. The budget was posted last night. You can just go to it from our website. And it's actually pretty easy to understand. I mean, if you want to get out the calculator, go ahead, but the numbers, there's a lot of text, so it explains to you what the concerns are, where the cuts were made, how much. And you just look at one little link to each section. Took me a minute, but it works out pretty neat. There's going to be a lot of cuts. 10% across the board for everything. And then all departments were asked to brainstorm any way to cut budget. And there were a lot of suggestions, many of which have been used. I have not perused the whole thing yet. It's gonna be tough. And Sarah said she's making everybody equally unhappy. The first budget committee meeting will be next Wednesday. She will present it, and we'll have a couple more meetings talking about different parts of it, is what we usually do. And then the last meeting, we can make motions for any changes that we might need to see. Along with budget money, we're going to put together a revenue team that will have 2 or 3 counselors, people from the budget committee, people from the community, to brainstorm and research how we can get some more revenue, in particular for both homelessness and climate. So I was on the revenue team that ended up with the payroll tax, and I tell you, it's very complicated and very depressing because most ideas don't bring in enough money or they're really regret it. So it's an interesting study. We will come back to council in the fall. Polystyrene on the state legislature, can I go forward for a bigger statewide?
And just a question about the revenue team. I heard at another meeting, you know, some speculation about who might be on it. And I guess the question would it be appropriate that the commission is represented, since climate is one of the priority goals?
That didn't come up, budget committee, but there's other positions on it. We don't want it to be a huge team, but that would be, it's the mayor who decides.
Right.
But
Okay.
yeah, I think that's a good idea.
How can we move forward?
One thing I wonder is, I'm not, we started out being, I hope that's what it still is. But I don't have a definite charge yet, it's just those things.
Right.
But I will mention it to them.
Well, and thank you. And I understood from, what I heard about it from a budget committee member was the priority one would likely be to try to backfill some of those cuts. And to look at, restoration will also be part of the conversation.
There's a possibility that would be putting revenue pretty much into the general fund, which can go to anything. This may be more focused, such as the payroll taxes for community safety, whatever mechanism that they will come up with might be focused for a particular.
More targeted.
Rather than. Also, but see. Buy a lot of tickets.
So. Is there a plan, to save the downtown?
There's lots of things in the works. The budget, which I was nervous being downtown. Leader, we're going to get cut. Some things we don't have the downtown ambassadors anymore. We do have a volunteer team. Working in the police department, we have a t-shirts. we've hired people who are out here to help us. They're down there 3 days a week. We are getting a downtown, with the word manager, that's specifically for the problems we're having. Not, we have a manager, but that's more for activities and the things are happening. This would be somebody who would be able to just call up and get out of that team, or call up and get something that was needed immediately, rather than having to go through a chain to get something. We are still gonna have, or what we have to work with, a greater presence downtown than in other areas. The 3 goals for downtown from lots and lots of outreach was safety, cleanliness, and activity. So the budgets for the activities, different street performers and other things will continue, not a huge amount, but those will continue. There'll be more power washing, flowers, and safety stuff that I talked about.
I guess another part of it, so I understand that there's issues with safety and the things that you mentioned, but part of it is, you know, the lack of economic stimulation at the downtown. People are not drawn to the downtown. You know, that whole thing that just happened at Brenner's Furniture was just horrifying. And they got broken into, and somebody set a fire in there, and it was horrible. And because it's more like vibrancy of the downtown as some economic.
And that's why the housing push, because then we get people downtown. And once you get people downtown, they're gonna do more things, or shop more. There's no point in putting retail in when everybody's there to shop. So besides the cleaning and activities and the safety, big push to get housing downtown, all different levels of housing. Word with that, we used to leverage grants and other investments, private public partnerships, and one of the things and that we can then give ourselves $1 to develop those and then reduce permits. Really trying to get, it's everywhere, we need more housing. But whenever I'm also, we need to save downtown, it's, you know, this is not good. Housing.
You know, a lot of businesses have closed too.
And the Brenner's thing, horrifying, awful, but that was one very challenged person. So, not making light of that, but let's not make bad use of that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I think we're ready to move on.
Okay, well, come on up, Juan. You can have a seat or stand up, and I'll introduce you. So this is Juan Serpo Munoz. He's the business line manager, business line manager from eWeb. And he'll be presenting today on the Go Forth Car Share program. There was a little bit of information in your packets about it. I hope you guys were able to read some of that. But we're really excited to have you and learn more about the program.
Okay, so do I just tell you to move on the slides? Is that how we do? Okay.
Yeah, Ian will be.
Yeah, so nice to see everybody. This is like kind of like behind the scenes, kind of like the magic behind the scene that I get to see. My name is Juan and I work at eWeb. My roles involve managing and development of programs around energy efficiency, electrification, and also solar. And I also work on batteries and different policies and things like that. So anything within those areas. Today, I'm going to talk to you about our Go Forth Car Share partnership with Forth Mobility. And the focus for me on this presentation is also on the concept of available versus accessible, and the difference between those, and how it is that this partnership addresses that accessibility piece. Next slide, please. So a little bit about EWEB, most of you should be familiar with it, but just in case, founded in 1911, Eugene Water and Electric Board is the largest Oregon customer-owned utility. There's about 85,000 residential customers and about 10,000 commercial ones. I'm a big fan of numbers and data. Actually, the 10,000 is 9,999, which is a pretty unique number that you don't quite get perfectly. So almost 10,000. We're 90% carbon free, and to many people that sounds like that's perfect. That's great. You're really your carbon footprint is low, but you have to consider what happens with electrification, right? So as electrification increase, where does that 90% get pushed? Are we always at 90%, or at certain times are we getting pushed to have to buy energy in the market, and the energy is not as clean? So 90% is a good number, but there's a lot that goes into it, and understanding really where you are at certain times of the day, depending on the availability of clean energy in the grid. We have 3,170 vehicles, according to DEQ, as of November of 2022. DEQ can be a little bit slow sometimes in updating their data, so we don't have the actual current data, but as of November, that is the number of vehicles. And we've been consistent about seeing about a 31% increase year after year on electric vehicles within our service territory. There was one year that was very unique. It was quite a high increase, but the 31% is the one that makes the average and the one that makes more sense. As I said, I really like data and information, so I took our electric bicycle rebate program data for 2022 and put it on that map that you see. And that's the saturation of electric bicycles for that time frame. You can see a little bit that it gets a little bit hot in South Eugene. So, excuse me, some of these methods of transportation can be a little bit expensive. And so it's interesting to see the correlation of where the accessibility of these units are. Next slide, please. Thank you. And please interrupt me anytime you have a question. So our transportation electrification efforts, or TE, are under the umbrella of Move Green. And we've been intentional in trying to ensure that we're covering an array of areas of transportation electrification, and including incentives for residential and commercial infrastructure. We also have additional incentives for affordable housing. Electric bicycle rebates that became a program in 2022 during Earth Day. And that was a really successful program. I'll talk a little bit about that. Car sharing, Go Forth Car Share, which is what we're here to talk about, and the electric mobility community grants. That has been a really fun project, and we were able to put money into the hands of entities who are experts in the populations that they serve. So I may have some understanding of the gaps of the Hispanic population, for example, but there are so many gaps that I have that I don't see, and we cannot really assume that we would know and understand all these gaps. Putting money into nonprofits and government entities who work with these entities and populations is a good way to have them be the experts and leverage our funding to provide solutions and opportunities for those populations. We also get to see a lot of interesting programs. Some didn't get funded and some did. And then we have test drive events and also charging infrastructure. Through clean fuel credits, we're able to facilitate the funding for all these programs. And the really great advantage of the Oregon Clean Fuels Credit, and I cannot say enough about this program, is that it allows us to provide programs that are outside of traditional return on investment. So I'm not asking somebody with the means to buy a $100,000 Tesla vehicle to support affordable housing car sharing. And I'm not asking a limited income customer to support a rebate for a charging station for somebody who can afford a $100,000 electric vehicle. So having this access to this funding allows us to be outside of that and outside of ratepayer funded efforts. And then we can look at costs and opportunities outside of the lenses of traditional. Is this going to make us enough, bring us load or something like that? We can look at what is the carbon impact, what is the benefit to the society, what is the benefit to populations that don't have access to this technology, but also it's still rewarding and saying thanks to the individuals who provide these credits, which are the EV owners within our service territory. For those of you who don't know, clean fuel credits are generated by the electric vehicles within a utility service territory. So the more vehicles, the more credits. Those credits are used kind of tokens, and you put them, you go into a wholesale market and you say, hey, I have these credits. And then somebody will say, I would like to buy them. Current market prices are around $125 per credit. Each vehicle in our service territory generates about 3.5, 3.4. It varies depending on your fuel mix. So you can see 3.5 times 125 times 3,000 and change vehicles can be a lot of money. And as those increase, more funding comes into our service territory at Eugene. Next slide, please. Yes, it is very interesting. So available versus accessible, and what is the difference? You can have maybe organic grapes at the supermarket, and that is available for anybody who's able to afford $4.99 a pound grapes, but it's not necessarily accessible. And so when we look at those differences, how do we intentionally bring accessibility to a technology? The graph that you see on the left is from Crossing the Chasm, which is a great book that talks about bringing technologies and how do you move the adoption of that technology. As many of you may know, you have these early markets and individuals who they don't care about how much something costs. They just want to be able to get the technology. But you also have individuals who maybe are concerned about the price, but they need a little bit more information. So somebody who has the means to buy an electric vehicle is not sure if there's enough charging infrastructure, but once they understand that, they're like, okay, I got the $50,000 to buy my electric vehicle. So that's one population. But then you have everybody else who's the Main Street market who maybe they don't understand how this works. They'll never buy it because they don't believe in that technology, or they simply cannot afford the vehicle. So how do you move that technology? How do you bring access to those individuals? And those are some of the programs that we have on this side, which is the commercial affordable housing charging infrastructure. We provide additional incentives if it's affordable housing. The rebates that we provide for electric bicycles, about 82% of our rebates went to bicycles that were $3,000 or less. 36% went to bicycles that were $1,500 or less. So it's kind of answering a little bit of that accessibility to the electrification of transportation technology. Electric mobility community grants, as I spoke a little bit about earlier on. And then EWIP charging infrastructure. Through clean fuel credits, not only can a utility generate credits, as I mentioned before, but every kilowatt hour that as ABC widgets may have in downtown Eugene, if they put a charging station there, every kilowatt hour that they provide for charging for the public, whether ABC widgets is charging for that or not, they are able to generate in 2022 around 14 cents per kilowatt hour. We charge about 6 or 7 cents, depending on the commercial account. We charge about that much for energy plus demand. So you can see they're generating about 14 cents. So it can easily cover for operational costs of the charging station. So when we are looking at infrastructure, our stations are free. And as we look at other DCFC infrastructure and plans to install those in Eugene, we will have very accessible prices because we are just looking at providing access to that technology to our customers. And then the electric car sharing, Go Forth Car Share program, which is what we're going to talk about next and what we're all here. Next slide, please. Thank you. So how do we go beyond vehicle ownership? Because that works for a lot of people, actually not a lot, but it doesn't work for everybody. And so you have to go beyond that. And the partnership with Forth Mobility answers that question. So we're able to provide access to a vehicle outside of John Smith owning that vehicle. Instead, we provide a vehicle that is able to be accessible for individuals. And we have three locations. One is Santa Clara District, Lane Transit District, excuse me, at the Santa Clara Station. The other one is with St. Vincent de Paul at Iris Place, which is a multifamily affordable housing site. And last is City Eugene, Broadway South, which we were able to complete in April, get the vehicle there. It has been, the intention of the program was initially perhaps to somebody who may want to test drive an electric vehicle, give them access to that. Maybe they're a little apprehensive about working with a dealership, don't want to feel the pressure of having to buy a vehicle, they just want to check it out. Or maybe use it for groceries. But as the program has developed, we found unique opportunities to expand this program. The data that you have on the bottom shows a little bit about when the vehicles were initiated at those locations and the miles that have been driven. So for example, at the Santa Clara station, 1360 miles were driven in 2022. And again, not again, but that started in June 6th with 93 trips. At Iris Place, we had 22,529 miles driven in 2022. With 109 trips. The downtown location is still new, so we don't have any data on that just yet. But it was very good to see that the affordable housing location was getting quite a lot of ridership. I think that's, you can look at numbers and stats and those are good, but it's the stories behind those that really lets you know that you're doing something right. So there was a family, for example, that was leveraging this vehicle to offset the cost of their ICE vehicle and take their kids to school. So it was a person that continually used that vehicle. What's really nice about having a vehicle at an affordable housing location is like if we all live there, we keep seeing that vehicle. And eventually we're gonna be like, maybe I'll check this out and test it. We also provided education at Irish Place. So Fourth Mobility came down to do an orientation and provide access to how this works and give a little bit of education to individuals within that complex. All the work that we do has really been leveraging a lot of partnerships. So LTD, City of Eugene, Fourth Mobility, St. Vincent de Paul, and a lot of the work that we do at EWIP is always in that way. How do we make this happen? It can not only be EWIP, but leveraging the partners and networks that we have established throughout the years. EWIP has a long history of working with neighboring utilities. The city, we have 40 years of energy efficiency, and we've been doing that. And so we just continue this partnership. We're currently working actually with the City of Eugene on a very exciting grant for underserved populations, providing charging infrastructure on those. So how does the program work? EWIP funds the vehicles using clean fuel credits, and Fourth manages all the details. So if something happens to the vehicle, maybe it's dirty, maybe it gets into an accident, whatever it is, Fourth will address all that. You use an app to operate the vehicle. But before that, the cost of the vehicle, the first 2 hours are free of the life of that ridership. So for example, for my account, my first 2 hours are free, not my first 2 hours of every day, my first unique 2 hours. After that is about $4 an hour, not about, it is $4 an hour to use the vehicle. And that is very competitive. Other models that are around $10, $12. So it's really accessible, the cost. And again, that comes with a partnership with Fourth. Fourth is a nonprofit, and it's always great to work with nonprofits. So for utilization, you download the Mio Car Network app, and Mio Car is also a nonprofit. And through that app, you're able to create an account. Then Fourth Mobility will reach out to you to set up one-on-one education to let you know how to plug the vehicle, how to charge the vehicle, how it works, what happens if you get into an accident, what happens if you need the vehicle to be clean, and different components of that. And you reserve, you unlock, you return the vehicle all using the app. So you don't need a key cannot get lost. You just use your phone, you unlock it, write it, bring it back to where it's supposed to be, you lock it with your phone, and then the next person is able to use it. You're able to generate credits as well. I don't know the exact details, so I don't want to speak on those, but I think if you take it out and show it at different places, you can generate some free hours. For example, our partners at Emerald Valley Electric Vehicle Association, they take these vehicles out sometimes, and they'll take it to gatherings or take it grocery shopping to kind of get the vehicle driving around so people can go and wonder what that is. And they just kind of hang out with the vehicle, and people can come up to them and they'll explain how it works. And so it's, again, these partnerships are really helpful. Working with EVVA has been really helpful for us. And since they started, they've been a fantastic contributor to all our programs. Once you have this app, not only can you use the 3 vehicles in Eugene, but you can go to these other locations, including Ashland, Bend, the Dalles, La Pine, and there's one location in Washington that is coming up. City of Eugene is the only city that has 3 vehicles, more than 1 vehicle, and we're very proud of that. So we have 3 points of access for our citizens, customers, depending on how we call them. Next steps. So in looking at this, my intention and EWIP's intention would be to really expand this to affordable housing locations. I think that's really the key to provide access. We will likely maintain the City of Eugene and the LTD's vehicles to provide just general access to the population. But I think when you put these vehicles at an actual multifamily location, the utilization, the access just improves tremendously. It's right there every single morning, every single afternoon. The entities that you saw, like LTD, City of Eugene, they provided the charging infrastructure. We pay for the vehicle to be there, and all that goes into managing that vehicle. As next steps, we're working with Homes for Good on a potential location in a couple of years. We're also working with Square One Villages on their Peace Village to put a vehicle there as well. So I think it's It's a really great project. I'm really proud of it, and it's providing access to individuals. The slide that you have is just busy with data and analytics on various locations, not meant necessarily for you to explore every single detail, but it's stuff that we consider and look at to see how well this would help our customers, our citizens, our clients. Next slide, please. And again, this is a team effort. We work with all these entities. We play really well with all our partners in the area and the region. The logos that you see there are from an effort about 2 years ago, where EWIP worked with all these entities to reach out to Electrify America and say, hey, you know, it's not just EWIP, it's all of us that we would like you to bring infrastructure to the city of Eugene. And so rather than having the utilities say we have these programs, Travel Oregon say we have these people visiting, the UO say, well, Matt and I gets all these individuals. City of Eugene provided data on the infrastructure that they have. And so all of us combined provided a proposal for Electrify America to come to Eugene. Took a little bit of time, but they are here and we should be seeing those stations being energized, I think, in a month or so. When I came to the US, I didn't speak that much, of course, English, but the far side was always a fun little treat because you didn't have to really read a lot to understand what Gary was trying to communicate. And so such is that image there. Early experiments in transportation. I think it's hilarious. I really like the data guy. He's gonna capture something. The pilot, he's gonna have a hard time. But thank you very much. I welcome all questions that you may have.
It sounds like a great program. I noticed from the data that you had up there, it looks like the number of rides and the number of days it's been active. It looks like about 1 ride every 3 days or so.
I didn't do the math, but I'll go with what you
So,
said.
and, you know, hopefully, do you continue to promote the car there? How's that working?
Yeah, that's a good question. So our communications team, we're trying to see how do we get the word out. And we work with Ford, St. Vincent de Paul, I forget the gentleman's name, but the person who leads St. Vincent de Paul. Also Logan from the city of Eugene. We did videos, like ride along videos. And so we're just kind of driving and talking about how the vehicles work, what it is that St. Vincent de Paul likes about having this in their locations, and just kind of ride along. So we're doing that. Fourth is also reaching out to multifamily complexes around certain areas where the vehicles are and say, hey, we have these vehicles, but we want to make a continual intentional marketing approach to this. But any ideas that anybody may have are great. And again, working with EVVA, who's able to take a vehicle, drive it along. For example, there's an event on this Saturday at the market, and EVVA has picked up the vehicle. They're going to have a booth there. We'll be there, but they're bringing the vehicle to that event. So it's really great. We don't have, our staff is limited, so it's nice when there's volunteers who can help us in that way. But yeah, we have some intentional marketing with that promotional videos, email blasts that go out and such.
I think the housing idea is great, low income housing, putting in there is important. You got 2 things, I guess. People aren't used to borrowing a car, and it's an electric car, so you can see, and you can see the education level that you had so far, at least from your data, that not more than a high school education. People were warier, didn't think they could deal with it, it looked like, whereas you were getting a lot of more educated people using the car. So, there's a lot to get the person into doing it. I mean, I think it's a great thing to try to do. And I mean, I think it's the right thing to do. It'll have some uptake time, but it'll catch on. It's great.
Yeah, and again, Fourth Mobility has been great in coming down when we went to Iris Place and doing that orientation. So we envision that it will be the same thing at all the other multifamily housing locations that we will work with. And everybody has been, nobody has been like, no, we don't want these things. It was like, yes, sign us up. So it's great to hear that also from them. It's pretty much, there's so many great incentives coming from ODO on EVSE, electric vehicle supply equipment, that on top of our incentives can almost pretty much pay for the cost. So it was going to be really easy for these multifamily locations to put the charging station there, 1 or 2, whatever it is that they want, and then we just bring the vehicle. So it's working really, really great. I think those incentives are coming out in July or June, and we partnered with Force to do orientations on those, and we invited the city staff to be present at those. But, yeah.
Thank you for that presentation. I didn't know about this. I guess I was kind of surprised after all of it. It sounds so great that there's only 3 cars. I'm used to, the bike rack and scooters are everywhere, so I just thought, oh, that many people, you might have a few cars in each place. So I guess I'm just surprised. I know in some ways there's a lot of use, but I thought it would be used a lot more. So I guess that's I think it would certainly be more attractive if there were more cars, because if I want to go somewhere at 10 and so does somebody else, have no cars. I'm really interested in seeing how this develops. I think one of our big common things, of course, is transportation. I mean, less gas-fueled cars. That not only is this a great about, but I only drive like every 2 weeks, so I don't really want to buy an electric car. But if I knew there was a place downtown where I live with more than 1 car, I might have a car. So I think this is really exciting.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting model. They're not inexpensive to provide, and so that's why like a multitude of cars would also be challenging to achieve with, because we have a budget, and so how do we allocate that budget to make sure that we're spreading it through different efforts? So we have like $25,000 grants, 5 of those. We have these vehicles that adds up. So we're trying to, we definitely, we would love to have more cars. We also have to be considerate of our budget and how we spend those funds.
Victor, and then Karen, and then Tim.
Well, first of all, I just wanted to say this is very exciting to me. Makes me really happy that we have this and grateful. And thank you for the wonderful presentation. I was curious, what is in the 15-minute orientation that people have to go through?
Yeah, I went through it a long time ago. And so it's basic a basic 101 on electric vehicles. Because you have that regenerative braking, for example, so they don't get threatened by that, but also you can switch it to so you don't have that feature. So it's more like a regular vehicle kind of starts advancing, talks what happens if it gets into if you get into an accident or if it gets scratched, who it is that you should call, what are the office hours. Somebody's always going to be available 24/7. But Force staff is going to be available regular business hours. After that, you'll reach somebody else that won't be Force staff. It will be the MeoCar staff. And then, when you bring it back, plug it in, use the app to lock it. So it's some of those basic things. I don't recall exactly all the details, but those are the ones that I remember. So you walk away having a good overview. Also, they talk about plug share in case you tend to take the vehicle a little bit further, maybe. And you want to charge it somewhere else, then they give you an idea, download this app so you can see the various charging infrastructure that may be available in the county, in the state, in case they take it. The range on the vehicles is not super high either, so you have a limitation on that. I think we have Nissan Leafs and the one that the city has or will be Chevy Bolts, so a little bit higher range in those.
Yeah, those are my questions, is what kind of car, and is there a limit to like how far they can go with it and how long they can have it?
Yeah, there's a limit on time. I think it's 24 hours, but I'll have to check on that. As far as the range, if you're borrowing it for 2 hours, you can take it as far as you want, but you have to make sure that you can come back. So,
Yeah.
so we definitely, I've been in that situation. I used to have a vehicle with 64 miles. Limited range, but yeah, so that's part of the education. Don't think that you can just go, if the range is 150 miles, you got to come back. So you have to think of how do you come back. So the range is really half of that, plus a little courtesy percentage of this in the winter. So they go through that as well, because of the winter, your battery, the performance will be a little bit less, in the summer a little bit more. But most individuals, the trips, I have to look at the data, but what I recall is that they're not really long trips. They're kind of city, taking kids to school, coming back, or going to do grocery shopping, coming back. But nobody's really traveling and getting to visit all of Oregon with these vehicles.
It seems like the university area might be a good area for college students to have something like that too.
Yes, things that we're exploring. So EWEB has something called the Home Energy Score program that works with the University of Oregon. And it's University of Oregon students are gonna start using the downtown vehicle to do their energy audits. But I know you're talking about something different. But it's one way that we're involving kind of like the U of O a little bit. But yeah, something, there's so many locations, right? Ideally, we can have this at every multifamily housing at dorms, different things, and it would just be fantastic. Not only would people not necessarily look to buy a vehicle perhaps, because now they have this that they can use it when they really need it. And otherwise use their e-bike or bike around. But yeah, the budget and it just makes it challenging to do that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And time check, we have 8 minutes for this, so the people who haven't spoken yet, if we just keep it.
Thank you for your presentation. Thank you for all your hard work. It's really great to live in a visionary, space. To piggyback off of what Mitra said, the U of O used to have zip cars. Do they still have zip cars?
I don't know.
You don't think so? Because again, that would be a really, seems like that's a great place, you know, all the dorms and everything else. And as we met with the people doing planning on the streets a couple of weeks ago, you know, one of the things that we noted was that there's these rather large housing projects coming up around the U of O where the streets are going to change. Having, you know, they talked about, you know, educating people, but people are really just in their cars. So having those in places that are accessible for students would be really great. And then I just have one other comment. It just kind of blows my mind as I'm sitting here on this thing that those are $4 an hour. And when those electric scooters are 39 cents a minute. That's, I keep talking on $24 an hour. So, and it'd be, do you have anything to do with the electric scooters?
No.
Because it would be interesting to see to look at those stats, because it seems like people just jumped on to those. I see people driving all over the place, and that's a fairly good program. Whereas, you know, as Ellen was pointing out, these are, this came on board in June last year. So, you know, there's still a lot of work we have to do to get the word out and to make them useful. So anyway, I think that the desire is there, but thank you very much.
Some of the things that we're exploring in the future beyond this kind of model for vehicles could be also libraries for electric bicycles at multifamily locations. So maybe like the University of Oregon, that might be potentially a better fit. But yeah, that's
Well, it'd be kind of cool if the U of O just had a whole hub of all this. Because they do have a very concentrated population. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just have a question about, is there any option to schedule vehicles? Because it seems to me in terms of low income housing, the ability to get to medical appointments and things that you know are coming and know you have a way to get there.
Yeah.
You know, if that's, so you could pre-schedule,
Yes.
I gotta get to the VA, clear out on Chad, you know, and I can schedule a vehicle to drive myself.
Yeah, you reserve the vehicle for the time that makes sense.
Yeah, because to me, that seems like a primary, you know, use. I have a family member who has an e-bike, but when weather's difficult, we call it Dennis's Uber. You know, I get the call. You know, and he knows those appointments. He knows the times when you have vehicles. So I think that's an important component of it. So,
Yeah,
yeah, and certainly a marketing piece. You need a way to get to your appointments. Here it is, it's parked right here.
yeah, and it is an option that it has. Yeah, you can reserve it for whatever time.
Right, it's like almost a partnership about whether or not Peace Health and the VA and others would like to share that information with their clients.
Yeah, we would welcome any kind of partnership to get the word out on these vehicles.
Thank you.
It sounded like in the case study that we read about launching the Go Forth program in Portland at that affordable housing site in Cully, they faced a lot of problems with like residents navigating the technology of like the app. And do you feel like the Mio Car Networks app has been pretty seamless and people are able to navigate it fairly easily, or
Um,
what do you have to say about that?
I don't have enough information on that. Fourth hasn't communicated. We have like monthly meetings with Fourth Mobility and we check in on this effort and the other utilities. They haven't communicated seeing that, but it's something that I can ask. But the app, as far as app goes, is relatively simple. There aren't that many bells and whistles to it. You select the time, you click something to open it, away you go, you click to close it. So hopefully not, but it's something that we can follow up and see. I haven't heard, again, from Fourth or the other utilities saying, hey, our population is having a lot of trouble with these apps. So, I don't know, I think there's like 6 or so utilities saying, it really goes moving fast.
Anything else? You got 30 minutes.
I'm not dreaming, right? It was $24 an hour for the scooters, right?
Yeah, they're more expensive. I was just curious because I also read the entire case study. But, and then I cursed myself. But it didn't seem particularly successful. And what we were given as materials to read ahead of this time. And some of it was the barriers that I'm curious, okay, are you seeing barriers to use like that is limiting use of the cars? It doesn't sound like it from what you presented in your slideshow, but in the case study, it was one of the things was the app they're using wasn't easy to use, for example, but there are also language barriers, and also then maybe to Dennis's point, I'm not 100% sure how old the person is that he's driving around, but I know plenty of people in my life that would not be able to reserve, they'd be able to drive just fine and drive an electric car, but just fine, but they would not be able to use their phone to make it happen for themselves, right? And I'm just wondering, like, is there some other way to reserve the car that's not a digital payment or digital, right? Because that's another thing, is how do you pay for it? I mean, a lot of people I know in that older age range have cash. They are cash people. They're not Venmo people. They are not connecting their banks to their phones for payment in any way, shape, or form, and will never do that. But they could use a car, you know. So I'm just curious if you've encountered any of those barriers or thought of ways to move forward to like get more people involved by reducing barriers.
Yeah, there's definitely some of those, but Ford does provide a card for individuals who don't have a phone. And so with that card, you're able to open the vehicle or scan, use that instead of the phone. But there's some language barriers. I think the app is able to be in Spanish, but beyond that, there wouldn't be any other languages. But I'll have to check on that as well. I wasn't prepared for those types of questions. No, they're all valid questions. As far as the age group, yeah, there's individuals who just won't be able to access the phone, or people who are not banked. This relies on a credit card, and so because you have to connect that, and Fourth collects that information from you. So during the phone call, there is an opportunity to be able to have that done differently instead of having it done through the phone. And then Fourth will give you a card that you can leverage, and that would have kind of like your account on that to use.
I just looked, Zipcar does still exist at the U of O. They have 5 cars, but they charge $11 an hour. And you do have to be a member, so you pay $50 a year to be, to have access to the app, that kind of thing. And then it's $11, $80 a day. So it really is meant for quick going around and doing something. And I think that's what this would fit that as well. And you do reserve it. But yeah, there's a lot of technology to get through. So as you're seeing, so the uptake isn't as much as you would think.
Yeah,
But hopefully it'll succeed. Hopefully it'll succeed.
It's very competitive. It's a really good access rate.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
Thank you so much, Juan.
Now going to our education and outreach committee, we have a draft slideshow to share with you that you guys all got emailed and the first page. So I was typically you would just go like give it, and if you could like jot down things that you notice, things that you want to change, and then at the end we could talk about it. Or we could do it slide by slide. Anyone have a preference?
Has anybody tried to do it?
Out in public? Or
I mean, you're gonna do it now,
we
but
have to
that's
get
interesting.
approved, yeah.
But I'm wondering if someone's gone through it and said, this takes a half an hour, or this takes 40 minutes, or,
Oh, no, it won't take.
okay.
No.
The PDF and the PowerPoint.
I guess the PowerPoint, because I can see it on my screen, let's see. Yeah. So I'm just gonna pretend like I'm giving this to you guys and write down your notes, so I'll just go through the whole thing, is that okay? Okay. And can someone time me? It's 32. Oh, there it is, okay. Hi, thanks for having me speak. My name is Laura Allen. I'm a member of the Eugene Sustainability Commission. The commission is volunteer and advises the city council on topics related to sustainability. We do research and bring requests for actions to the council, as well as share community input. We also manage a small grant program. Our meetings are always open to the public and we welcome your input. You can visit our website to connect. It's on the resource page. If you're interested in joining the commission in the future, please reach out to your city councilor. Next slide. I'm going to talk a little bit about the city's climate action plan. The city has been working on climate policy since 2005. That was the first year the city took an inventory of the greenhouse gases emitted in Eugene. The climate action plan started in 2016 and was approved by council in 2020. It has included a lot of community involvement over the years. Now the city is implementing the plan, which includes many actions to reduce our carbon emissions. These actions help us meet our climate goals as we work towards a stable climate. They cut back on pollution and may also benefit you personally as well as our community. Next slide. In case you're not familiar, I want to cover a few terms. The abbreviation GHG stands for greenhouse gases. The most common greenhouse gases are carbon dioxide, which comes from burning fossil fuels, methane, which comes from natural gas, and refrigerants. Methane is a very potent greenhouse gas, 80 times stronger than carbon dioxide. So it's a particularly important one to cut back on. Also, when governments report on emissions, they usually convert the various gases into carbon dioxide equivalents. This way, it's easier to compare different types of greenhouse gas pollution. Next slide. As you probably know, we need to significantly reduce our emissions. This chart shows how much. The orange dotted line shows the business as usual forecast for the greenhouse gas emissions in Eugene. The dotted green line shows how much we need to cut back to reach our city's climate goals to help create a stable climate. This means we have some work to do. We can think about the total greenhouse gas emissions in Eugene as coming from three main buckets. The first and largest source is transportation, our cars and trucks. The next source is our buildings and the energy it takes to power them. This is mainly natural gas and electricity. The last bucket is from our waste, from our food waste, trash, our products, and we also include leaking refrigerants here. Driving gas and diesel cars and trucks produce over half our emissions. That is a lot of pollution. The city has a few planning efforts underway to reduce these, including the Transportation System Plan, Envision Eugene, Move Huge, and the Electric Vehicle Strategy. You can read more about these plans and how to get involved on the resource page. There are many ways you can help. Consider walking, rolling, or taking transit for some of your short trips. Next time you purchase a vehicle, consider an all-electric one. Their prices are coming down and are much cheaper to operate than gas cars. In Oregon, which has cleaner electricity than most US states, an EV creates just 8% as much carbon dioxide as a gas-powered car. A bonus on cutting down on transportation emissions is the health benefits. Active transportation is good for us, and EVs help keep the air clean. Buildings are the next biggest source of our emissions, accounting for over 30%. The majority of this pollution comes from burning natural gas, which is mostly methane. One way the city is addressing building emissions is through efficiency measures during renovations of city buildings. For example, when the Echo Hollow Pool was renovated, the facility switched from gas to an efficient electric heating system, among other upgrades. This cut the building's carbon emissions by 64%. The city also has a voluntary program to help you get an energy audit for your home. There's a link to this on the resource page. An audit helps you prioritize efficient upgrades your home may need. Saving energy also saves you money. Switching from gas to electric cuts down on emissions and may help you keep your indoor air cleaner. Recent research showed that over 12% of childhood asthma cases in the US was linked to gas stoves. EWEB and the Energy Trust of Oregon offer incentives and support to make your home more efficient and more electric. One helpful resource is the Energy Star program. Here you'll get resources and support with a focus on the 6 big impact areas shown above. Heating and cooling with heat pumps, a heat pump water heater, smart thermostat, insulation, windows, and making your home electric vehicle ready. The Energy Star program can also help you choose efficient products from refrigerators to light bulbs to electronics. The last bucket is waste. Much of these planet warming gases comes from rotting food. This picture is our local landfill. When food and organic matter go to the landfill, they rot, releasing methane. We can help stop this pollution by composting uneaten food and trying not to waste food in the first place. In Eugene, you can put uneaten food in the yard waste bin to be composted. Meal planning and proper food storage can help cut back on food waste. This saves money and is good for the planet. Next slide. Greenhouse gases are also emitted in the process of making the things we buy. Though the pollution is often made outside of Eugene, for example, in a factory in China, we are responsible for it when we purchase the item. This chart shows the amount of greenhouse gases produced from various products. One easy and economical way to cut back is to shop secondhand or fix items that are broken, or even borrow things you don't need very often. For new items, try to extend their life. For example, if you need a new laptop, buy one with a larger memory so it lasts longer. And when you don't need items, try and keep them out of the landfill when possible. Take them to a secondhand store or visit WasteWise Lane County app to learn what you can do with your stuff. Food and drinks also produce lots of emissions. As you can see in the chart, meat, especially beef, makes much more pollution than other foods. Consider eating more plant-based foods or switch to chicken or pork instead of beef. This helps reduce emissions, plus eating more plants is healthier. Thanks for listening. I hope this helps you think about what actions you can take and to know more about what the city is doing. Does anyone have any questions? I'll try my best to answer them or refer you to a resource if I don't know. There's also a short feedback form. I'd love you to fill it out. And we haven't made the feedback.
Long with
6 minutes and 45 seconds.
Probably there would be like pauses and questions and that, but I think we're in the range. We were trying to keep it. The 15?
10 minutes? Okay, yeah.
Then time for questions.
Right.
Yeah, clarify target audience. When it goes on the road, where does it go?
Yes, I see. So the group, when we made it, we were thinking of presenting it like neighborhood associations or any kind of organization that wanted to know about what the city was doing at any interest.
And what this body is.
And what this
it
body
does.
is.
Yeah.
Councilor Semple, and then Karen and Dennis, and then
I'm so impressed. I like that so much. So clear and yet concise, really accessible. I just can't wait for you to give it to people. I like that it's short, moves along quickly enough, but it doesn't jump over anything. I find when I'm speaking, sometimes I slow down more than I thought I would, so it's shorter. I just go on and say the same things. Thank you. It's great.
It's really, you did a fantastic job. I know the committee we worked with you, but you did a fantastic job. And after being on this commission for almost 3 years, you know, it's really nice to see an actual solid thing that we can take and use to make impact. So thank you for that. That's really well done. I have 2 comments on the second slide, which was that. You talked about greenhouse gases and you mentioned greenhouse gas inventory was done in 2005 or something like that. That kind of just blew by really fast and it didn't really have, maybe it was that one. Where, I don't think that you need to mention the greenhouse gas, it was that one. You said in 2005, we did a greenhouse gas, did I mishear that?
No, but that was the first, that was the very,
That was the first one ever done by the city.
yeah,
That was,
that was the history of when the city started working on it.
Oh, because I think that. To me, I think that that would be more relevant in the one where you talk about greenhouse gas. Because it just kind of didn't link any. And so, and then the next thing is that, I wonder if you could throw rebates in there, check with your local, whatever, on the building. And one, and I'm sorry I didn't get you that feedback sooner, but it definitely, listening to it, you see it differently than reading it. So anyway, excellent job. It's really great to have a tangible.
yeah, like I've communicated to you before, Laura, the sense that, I welcome the opportunity to take it to the road. And so I found myself envisioning what questions I needed to be prepared to answer. And one of them was, do we want to come up with a shared definition of what sustainability is? And not necessarily assume people are going to have the same sense of what that means. And I went to, quickly look at, the commission's websites, and it has a little, sentence about, issues of environmental impact, et cetera, that, anybody who's going to take it on the road has a similar definition of what does that key word mean? I think we sit here and we assume that everybody says, oh yeah, sustainability, instead of what the heck do you mean when you say sustainability? And I just, think we should consider having a similar answer to such questions.
Yeah, maybe we can all refresh ourselves of what it says on the website and then just speak personally, because we're all individuals, we all have different backgrounds. So
Right.
if that comes up, we could just say, for me personally, this is what it means. Because I don't think we are able to.
Yeah, other than the website, yeah.
So no, we
I
know what
think
the
that's a
website
good
and then we
approach.
just speak.
Like I said, that's what I did. I said, what's it say?
Oh, I have to go backwards, went up to the resource page.
It's another.
It's a different document.
It's a different.
I thought you were gonna hand them out
Oh, yeah.
It would be handed out, yeah, and emailed.
and on the website. Will this be on our
We haven't
website?
gotten that far yet.
Okay. Thank you for letting me go back.
No, you did the lion's share of this. I mean, I know there was a committee, but it was really you that was doing all the work, so I want to acknowledge that. My only comment, and thank you for acknowledging my other comments, through the email, was just that last little bit of the spoken piece about what you eat. I would be a little bit, because of your audience, you might want to just make it a little less like, this is healthier anyway kind of talk. I think you might put some people off, but you don't, it is true, but I just have a feeling that that little part was a little preachy sounding to me. And I think the groups of people that you're going to talk to, there's going to be some that are like, well, I don't eat beef anyway, the whole association. And then you go to another one and they're like, you're telling me that's all they're going to remember is that last part about how you said you shouldn't eat beef. I'm not saying.
Nutritionists advise.
Yeah.
Right, I'm not saying that I don't agree or disagree, right? I'm just saying when you're speaking to that group, I would hate to lose some people with just that last little bit at the end when it's so nice and so informative.
Do you, a quote from like the dietitian, like a big reduction in cancer rates and, the actual like tangible things, is that, do you think we should put that in there or just ditch the whole thing?
I'll stay with that.
Ditch the whole thing, not say it's like
Oh, leave the
reduces
slide.
cancer.
Lee, the slide is great. It's just a little bit of
About
the talking
themselves, they-
point. I mean, I just wouldn't wanna. Yeah, say something that we don't know anything about. I mean, if there's questions, but also just the off-putting, like, we wanna get people on board rather than.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, I agree with you that like a plant-based diet is healthier, but there's so many diets out there right now, you know, that say the opposite, like a meat-heavy diet is healthy, you know, just depending on what your goals are. And so I agree kind of, we don't want to lose people for something that we all might agree with, but it's not necessarily the angle the Sustainability Commission brings to the topic of food. That's my two
We can
cents.
just mention. Or, yes.
So the thing you brought, sorry, I interrupted you.
Maybe we could just say something, like just change the wording, like make decisions that are healthy for the planet and nutritious. And then it's, you're still saying that, but you're not saying like, it's, I don't know, though, you can just change the wording slightly to make it sound a little bit more neutral, I think, and you can still give that information. Like, because I think you did, it's you're adding value proposition to what we're saying, like, do this, but also it helps this, and this, like the childhood asthma stuff and all that.
So candy in the compost,
Candy.
Cheetos.
Yeah.
Anything
No, I
that you
know, I'm
can
just
eat.
saying.
Oh.
Like if you're saying there, fruits and vegetables and whatever, I mean, it's all food.
Oh, we're talking about the eating part, right? I think.
With the beef and the pork and the
Yeah.
chicken.
So I'll try to either cut it out or try to make it just focus on the positive and not the negative. But I can't wordsmith right now.
Yeah.
No,
no,
So then I come back to that part.
Maybe we could talk about it. I mean, if you need help, I'm happy, you know, just throw out some ideas through email or next time we meet or something.
And I just didn't want it to sound like the sustainability commission, sorry, supports chicken and pork, but doesn't, I mean, because there's issues there too. I mean, I just think
Yeah.
we need to be a little more neutral.
We should just say what it is. I mean, there's like, it's like carbon, if you look at the carbon emissions of food, that's really cut and dry.
Yeah, you could just say what the slide says, like in
Yeah.
one sentence.
Okay.
I think it's very well done in reading the script and all. It's quite like a class lecture on carbon footprints and greenhouse gas and what we're doing. But I think I like Dennis's comment. You better think about, if you went out with it, think about what questions you're going to get. So what does the commission do really? I mean, who's on there and what are you guys up to? What have you been doing lately? People are going to be interested in the body and things like that. You give that upfront thing or a volunteer group and but that doesn't really say much. So I think what you say is fine and the script is fine. It's very educational and spiritual. But I think, given you stop with the script, people are going to go, oh, well, okay. And then they are going to get into some things where they might be expecting you to have an answer. Or what is the Sustainability Commission's position on this? What have you done? Or what do you think about it? Or, so I mean, I think it'll be an interesting experience, I think, beyond just giving them that download of information, which, someone will get, someone will say that. Anyway, it'd be an interesting experience once we start to do it, to see how it goes and what happens and what things people are how they're responding. I don't think they're going to be negative about what you said, but they are going to be more probing. At least I know people in my neighborhood would start. Test you. So you're going to get tested a bit. Well, what do you really know about that? Yeah. So it's interesting to be prepared beyond this script.
Yeah, I put some resources connected to the pages that we should refresh ourselves, but also I think, and we can kind of make a guidance for going out, but we always just speaking for yourself, like I wasn't, I'm not sure what the commission did before, I've been on it, since I've been on it, we did this, or just being truthful about it from your own perspective. I think that's all we can do, and saying, I don't know, then I can get back to you or whatever. Just having some,
And I
we
think
can
that's why
create
it's
a guide.
acceptable to say, I don't know, we can get you the answer,
Yeah.
or to say. The commission doesn't have a position on this, but as a private citizen, this is what I feel.
Yeah.
I think that's perfectly acceptable as well, to do that as well. And also, it's just, and I think the resource sheet would really help. I think there's, I have some suggestions, you about a couple other things we probably add to that, and then just add up some of that resource there, and then there's probably some people in the city, some staff I want to talk to, who might have ideas that we just haven't thought about, that can bolster that as well. That can just provide a wealth of resources that will be out there for people who maybe want to do something kind of on an individual basis. for that. And I think for me, and you brought this up last week, I think one of the really big areas, and I'll lobby a little, I'll have to get a little bit, where the commission can make a really huge difference is convincing people to put food waste in the bins. That would make such an enormous difference in this community from a climate perspective, to just raise awareness of that. I think that would be an enormous opportunity, particularly for people who maybe can't afford an EV or doing a big house energy weatherization retrofit may not be within their means right now, but are interested in like, what can I do in my daily life that's maybe fun, or I can involve my children or anything like that. And I think there's an opportunity for the commission to really speak to that and the commission members to talk to that within the community. And I think it's really just, taking what you have, which is fantastic, and just, adding a couple other things to kind of just amp up kind of what people can sort of do on their day to day in a way that allows them to feel like they're continuing to do something, kind of educating in both directions. Parents teaching their kids, kids teaching their parents. It's a way to kind of move that conversation forward.
There's a lot of that mentioned. I felt really excited to hear like that mentioned in all the addressing of the buckets. There's like suggestions, and then the resources are also places where they can find. Just out, I didn't remember this or not, but is the Emerald Valley Electric Vehicle Association on the resource list? Okay.
Can we pull up the research?
Yeah.
And look at that.
And then I had one other thing to say. A lot of the inquiries, we might have like a catch-all in the survey, like, like if there's is there a question that, or a feedback, there's gonna be, so the survey that we're asking people to fill out is gonna be about collecting data and feedback. So we'll be able to kind of, tweak this presentation based on what we start hearing. And then I think it's a good place to just, have a question where we can say, oh yeah, I might not know that, but please make sure that's in the survey, or put it in the survey, so that, but yeah, speaking from our own experience, because I thought of that too. I'm like, well, I don't know, like, I know some things, but I don't feel like I'm an expert or can run off data off the top of my head. But yeah, just say from my experience, or, this type of thing, or like, and also we're just, the reason we have the script and that we have this presentation and we're trying to get it approved by everyone here in the city is because we are trying to do this on behalf of the city, and we need to make sure we're not saying anything, we want everything to be in line to some extent, and we're educating, the community about what's going on in the city. I thought it was a really good mix of like personal actions. We might add something like the ride shares and the electric like scooters, and like now we have electric bikes, electric cars, and electric scooters. We could just throw that in there as another level, the EV thing. Yeah, I could go off on that too, but I have a biodiesel car. But they are selling R99 to the public at Sequential now, just follow up, super exciting. But yeah, so there's a lot to be said, but if you put a resource in there where they can find that information and just keep referring people to that so that it's there. We're trying to keep it simple, but also provide as much information as possible. So sorry, that was a little jumbly.
I was gonna say, yeah, and I think just to circle back again, I think to also send people to the program. If you don't feel comfortable answering, or if you don't necessarily know, to send folks our way. And for us to be able to speak in more detail about what the city is doing, I think. That's
Our contact info.
Yeah,
Yeah. Email.
Ability staff.
yeah, we can put, yeah, and the sustainability program has an email as well, so yeah. Those resources can be added to the document as well.
We could say like, oh, if we're not able to answer your question, please feel free to email us.
Danielle.
We'll get the answer for you.
It's available 24/7.
Personal cell phone.
Put myself in that.
Why not?
So,
I think there are some people who haven't gotten yet. So we'll come back. It's fine.
A couple things. One really technical thing, there was the chart you showed that you referenced, like the dotted green line. I wonder if you want to make it a lighter green or
I didn't make, it's from the, I didn't make.
oh, so you can change the color on it.
So that's what I was thinking about. There's-
Maybe call it the dark green. I don't know. It was like you said green and it was like it looked black. So
Okay.
if there's any way to just
I mean,
Um,
unless, it's a.
So it might have been the way it was showing up.
It's from the cat.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You could say the top line.
Yeah, maybe say the top line and the bottom line.
Yeah.
Oh, the bottom line, yeah, the bottom line.
Yeah, so that's just a technical thing. I definitely think we should share about I liked your idea about like sharing the EVs, the, the bikes, cars, all of that, since we just learned about it and they're not getting that big of ridership. It would be cool to amplify that program for them. Also amplifying the yard waste program and maybe a way to do that is say, this is a recent change that you can start putting all of your food scraps, bones, candy and all into the yard debris bin, because people might think you're just talking about regular composting, which there might be reasons they can't do it. So just highlighting that it's a new change might catch their attention. It would be interesting to talk about the green fund a little more. You mentioned it at the beginning, but maybe going into how to apply for it and who's eligible would be good. How do people take the survey at the end?
We haven't gotten that. From yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's the next step.
Okay. Cool. 'Cause one idea is maybe you could have like a QR code.
Yeah.
And then people could just like do it right then.
We talked about a QR code and then a physical copy
Oh,
for.
That's a good idea.
So then
That's
you
maybe a
get,
better
then you
idea.
can get it, if it's by Zoom, you get QR, if it's virtual QR, and then.
Or you could just
physical,
kind of, yeah, that's awesome. And then I had an idea that at the end, instead of just broadly opening it up to questions and, which could honestly, quite frankly, be like a can of worms and not that useful.
Yeah.
It's a good opportunity for us to think about this as an engagement opportunity and what are questions that we have. And I've been looking at a lot of cities that are doing, different engagement frameworks and there's some good general questions that they'll just ask that sort of help direct the conversation in a way that's a little more useful. So for example, in your view, what are the benefits of sustainability, or what are the challenges that some people in this room are facing with what I just presented, or what are things that the city or that the commission could do to help this be more equitable or help you in your daily life. So and that might kind of direct the conversation and questions in a way that's more useful to us rather than just people going on tangents about debating the philosophy of nutrition or something. So, or whatever rabbit hole, they go down. So,
And we'll probably have get our committee back to
Yeah.
talk about this, but I was also thinking of asking people to share what action they might have already done or be thinking of doing, kind of getting into positive.
that's a good idea.
What things you're concerned with or something that maybe we didn't cover with you
There are other
today.
things that you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are other things? Yeah.
That's exactly what I was
That's what
thinking.
you're saying. Yeah, so we'll take all this and then we can reconvene and.
Yeah. And I could share some of the questions, the way they framed it, just based on what some other cities do. And then the last thing was just, and I don't know if Ian wants to talk about this, but the electrification. I loved what you said, but I know that we're all in sort of this, with the ballot measure and stuff. I just don't want any of us to get in trouble with what we're supposed to say, what we're not allowed to say. So I wonder, I'm not an expert on that totally, but did the way she phrased it, did that?
So I think,
Cover our
and I was gonna
bases.
follow up with you in an email, but I think the indoor air quality aspect thing, this on that slide in particular, we may want to make some adjustments on some of that language. Really as a risk mitigation strategy for all of you, as much as anything. I think there's two things related to that. One, I think we can expect that people are gonna be asked about the election record. That's gonna come up as a question if you're in front of the
That's why
audience.
we have it as a private citizen line available to
Or
us.
I think what I would think,
Did you see
prefer-
what I put below? I didn't read that. I said
I'll have to go back and look at this.
I said, remember, we can't talk about electrification ordinance. Say as a commissioner, I'm not allowed to talk about any topics that are up for a ballot measure, and that one is.
Yeah, and I think
So
what
if anyone
we may
asks about
do
it,
is,
just-
I may work with the city attorney's office to come up with a standard talking point that you all could have to basically provide
Okay.
just something that's language that's been,
That
run
is-
through, yes, been vetted by people for that as something that you can have, all of you can have at your disposal for that. I think the flip side is when you talk about e-web incentives, also talk about ETO as a way to say there are, the ETO also provides incentives. rebates. Yeah, I know it's in there. It wasn't in the resource document.
Oh, it wasn't the research.
What did you say?
Then talk about the
Energy.
Energy Trust of Oregon in addition to e-web incentives. As a way to just have there's a gamut of incentives across a lot of different energy types that can be brought to bear on things. I just want to make sure that we're not putting you in a position where you're saying something that's.
Yeah, I thought that too, just because we did mention the stove in particular, which is like the point of contention. So maybe just. Yeah,
There, a Stanford study came out, like, that is not about electrification, or I don't want us to not, this is my personal opinion.
No, I'm.
It's not we have to be able to talk about science without, it's not connected to the ordinance.
But it might be a
I
trigger.
want the commission to be able to present this in the public, and that's one that's gonna get flagged by the city. So, like, I think this is a good opportunity for you all to get out and talk about this, but we want you to be able to do it. And so really, my goal is to get this through a vetting process so that the language is actually approved by the city and you can go out and do this. And so I just want to make sure that we're saying, I understand completely, and there might be an opportunity, any questions to say as a private citizen, this is what I think, but I think in terms of having talking points from the commission, we just want to make sure that we're putting language out there that's not going to be putting anybody in a position that's going to be an issue.
It's so be good to find out, because if we cannot talk about any science by academics or a third or around gas, I mean, that's really problematic in my opinion, and has nothing to do with electrification ordinance. That's just.
I'm reflecting on the things that I've been told by the city attorney where we can't really have a conversation right now. And basically similar to the email that I sent to all the commissioners a month or so ago, I think as commissioners, you are subject to the same kind of restrictions that we are as staff. And I understand your point. I just want to make sure that we're not putting you in a position that's going to create a problem for you.
Good. Okay.
My only comment was that if that's the resource page that you popped up there, it's all hot links, and if you're handing it out as a handout, it's like, how's that?
Well, we could tell them that we posted it on our webpage as
I
well.
think that would be the.
I put the hyperlink below, so I popped.
Oh, yeah.
I did both.
It is
We
there.
could put a QR code to take us
It's
to the
just hard
page.
to type that in,
Yeah,
you know,
Right.
I don't, easy button, that's all.
what if we put a QR code to take them to the, like, virtual version? Yeah, they, like,
Well, there's that.
We're taking it in.
Posting it on those.
Right, you need one QR code, right?
Right.
Okay, so we make a QR code for the resource page that goes to. What is it?
We'll go on the web, it'll be posted.
or that would just take them to the virtual resource page so they can click on the links.
Yeah, I think that's.
Well, those are
Oh, is it?
in the weeds.
Yeah.
But we'll
link it, right?
we're a little bit over time, but anything about the resource page, and you can also email, or you all have access to like add it to this.
So AOR has their Association of Oregon Recyclers has their conference in, this is about Eugene though. I don't know if that's appropriate. I was gonna say, it'd be fun to generate ideas of like the different types of groups we could reach out to when we get everything finalized, and like who we could present to, that this would be really helpful and impactful. And maybe it would be helpful, does the city, Counselor Simple, have any particular like audiences they're wanting us to reach out to? Everybody? Okay. Well,
I mean, anybody where you think you have a hold, where you have a place you can connect with them, because this is universal, like I'm really doing which everybody needs to be. And I think the food waste is really important, because it's something people can do. Once they're doing something, now they're attached and they're more open to more things. So just with that, everyone can get food waste in this water usage. So no, I don't really. Associations that cover all that, and people. Clubs, have no fire anymore, but there's that's Girl Scouts. Figure skating group, I don't know, any group is affected by this, we all eat, we all do. So really, any place you can put out a little, fishing bait and get it right, let's do it. It's very brief, so it could easily fit into other meetings that people are having about something else.
Should probably make a video of it. We've been talking, and so that it's available on the web page as well.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking for the
Or like a
website,
group,
have
you could say, hey, look at our
recorded.
presentation, even if we don't go to their booth, you could try
That
to.
would be great.
That's a
good
And the more people who
Yeah,
see
just
it,
wait.
read it, and some people are not readers, so if you can listen to it, then you'll get the message. And so many people go to. Put an ad for it on this. So I don't have a list of exact.
And maybe we can brainstorm when we do the survey.
Put that on there. Who else do you think would like to?
Yeah.
That's actually a great question,
Everybody.
yeah.
I think we got good feedback and we know what's feedback.
Come a long way. It's really amazing how far that presentation's come along.
I thought it was great.
Yeah, the last 6 weeks it's come.
It was one of the things council, because we've had. Oh, just figuring out how the council and the committee can work together, and what does the council really want from the commission, because we can't. Talk it isn't work. We can't. So frustrating to have this commission do so much work and it can't move up the ladder to where it gets any attention. So one of the important things that we really. but we really-
Hello.
Okay, we are to a new committee now, a new proposal about leaf blowers.
So, after our last meeting, Art and Dennis both brought up, I didn't actually even bring it up. It was great. You got me to do the work though, but that's okay, because I kind of already had some of this work done, for other committees I'm on. So, I'd like to propose that there's a committee to explore the use of gas powered leaf blowers and their effect on our city as a whole. What my only question on here, really with the way it's set up, is 3 months enough time? The committee will have 3 months and a maximum of 6 meetings. That was one thing that I wanted commissioners to think about. If you have questions about any of this, let me know. I don't need to go over, I don't think, every aspect of gas powered leaf blowers that are an issue right now, unless you want me to. Right, okay, so,
That's what the committee's gonna do.
right, I mean, exactly, but I just didn't know if you needed more. It seemed like commissioners were pretty supportive of this committee and moving forward, and hopefully you will want to participate as well. But yeah, my main feedback is 3 months a long enough time? Might not be.
I think 3 months is a good amount of time, and I would like to say, this work is urgent. And we can make works just spread out to take so long. And I have seen this happen before, so there's precedent that a committee will come and say, we need a little time, and the commission will then approve this. So, I really like this subject, so I would encourage you, we're already to April, so we're already past this year.
Right, we'll bring the report forward just about the time when the leaves are falling and people are aware of the other reality.
Usually what we do before voting on it is just kind of get a straw poll to make sure there's at least 9 people who will join, and if 3 people raise their hands, then we'll just vote on this.
Yeah, we already
Who
said
wants to
that.
join? Great, we got 3 people. Now, motion to approve the leaf blower proposal. All in favor? So you, do you want to be the chair? Well, I guess you pick the chair at the first meeting, but do you want to convene the group?
Sure. I'm not sure if I'm gonna be able to lead it, but I can definitely reach out and,
Call the first meeting.
Thank you.
Who was the third person who's joining?
Art, Dennis. Yeah, we can email the whole group.
Yep, yep.
See who are.
for sure.
I'm serving as de facto chair of the committee.
Not yet, no. I may not do that job, but I would like to call the first meeting. And then we'll figure out who wants to be the chair. I may not have the bandwidth for that right now.
Okay, we have a new committee.
Thank you.
So now we are to commissioner and staff updates. I have a quick one, that there's a Earth Day rally for forest and climate at 3 o'clock on Saturday. I'll just look down if people haven't seen it. Where is it?
Federal bill,
Federal-
the old one.
Yeah.
There's several things happening, that particular thing's happening at 3 o'clock.
Well, the initial rally starts at 1.
That, well, that's.
I think that's.
Yeah, rally at 1. Yeah, rally at 1, the mayor speaking. Senator Manning. And Yes, and parade at 1:45. Flash mob at the market at 2:15.
Things are happening on Saturday.
So it'll be a
You're
big
gonna
day.
have to
Be
Go
down there.
online and find it out.
Oh, right, this is the particularly
April
forest
20th.
piece.
But also.
It's the forest piece. Part of it.
Part of it, okay, so that's a piece of the thing happening Saturday. Other commissioner updates?
What are we allowed to talk about during this time?
Upcoming things of interest, things that have passed, like if you've gone to any meetings of other groups that you're a liaison to, or policy things that have changed, anything, but brief.
Well, this is in Cottage Grove, but there's a Green Living Fair in Cottage Grove at the Armory this weekend, both days. And a trash and show, they have an amazing trash and show down there. And then my nonprofit is doing an upcycled fashion show on May 6th coming up. It's in conjunction with Mecca and the Shelton McMurphy Johnson House. And we upcycling wedding dresses, so that's gonna be fun down at the 5th Street Market Alley.
We, that too.
Yeah.
I just wanted to, it was kind of timely, some work that's going on in the neighborhood association that I am the chair of. So just yesterday, which you will be very pleased about and you will be pleased about, we met and I actually saw you. It was the Environmental Stewardship Committee, which I'm also chair of that group. We are trying to be more organized in getting out information in our monthly MailChimps we send out to like 1,000 people. And as far as that subcommittee is concerned, like getting out messages that are important to our neighbors. So what I just wrote up yesterday was an entire thing about kitchen scraps, how to dispose of kitchen scraps, like kitchen scraps basics. I made it about as easy as it could possibly be to understand how to use your curbside bin and where it goes and all these different things. So that's going out on probably the first week of May. I think that will head out to all the Southeast neighbors. So that's something we're passionate about on that committee. And then the second piece is, I just can't remember, in that committee also did a survey about how Southeast neighbors felt about gas powered leaf blowers in our neighborhood, and that went out and we got about 57 responses. So that was pretty good, actually. It was through a MailChimp and they had to go to a Google Doc and then do the Google form. We're trying to make it as easy as possible for our community. And it was pretty interesting. And one of the main points, I mean, obviously is noise. Everybody always wants the main complaint about noise, but we let them complain about other things too and ask them if they were interested in having more educational materials themselves. That was a question. Like, would you like that? Or do you think we should disperse educational materials to others? And that was very, very popular. People that weren't really that interested in getting it for themselves, and they're very excited about making sure everybody else had it. So that's another thing that we put together as a committee that's going to be going, that will actually go out to everyone in a MailChimp form as informational bit about all the points, not just noise, about gas powered leaf blower. So that's going to be going out to that same group of like 1,000 people. So working on it.
You have a network of people who publish neighborhood e-news kind of things at all?
I mean, all the committees within the association all put things together every month.
Oh, different associations, like I know like
Oh.
Fairmount has an e-news and we just put something in there from Hendricks Park, but I was wondering, you know, like your thing about food scraps, it'd be great to get into the Fairmount e-news as well, or to other neighborhoods. Is there a?
We don't really at this point. I mean, that's a really good idea. A lot of times I'm approached and then I'll share. That's kind of how it's been going. But that's a great idea, is to just start sharing with the other committees that are
It's like
available.
that, which is not about your neighborhood, but it's just.
Well, right, it's a Eugene thing, absolutely, yeah.
I love that idea. You know, why have every neighborhood association do the work again? They may not do it at all, but wow, if you could send the stuff that your neighborhood association has developed and it's available just electronically, please send it to JWN, please send it to Downtown Neighbors. I want both those, and I think it would be really well accepted.
Here, I'll make a
Spread
note.
the word as much as possible.
Staff updates, okay.
And so councilors haven't talked about a few of these already, but some upcoming work sessions that will probably be of interest. So it's tentative right now, but climate friendly equitable communities, they're going to be having a work session on transportation system plan, scenario planning, which is something that the city did in 2015 or 2016. That's an element of climate friendly that Rob Interpol staff talked about a couple of months ago on there. And so there's a discussion of kind of where the city is going to be taking that work moving forward, really looking at how transportation policies affect equity and health, climate change, and emissions for the region. So that's coming up. There's going to be the fossil fuel response work session. That's going to be on the 10th of May. Similar that same day, there's going to be a Willamette Community Code Amendment work session as well, focusing on the code amendments for that work. And then as Council Sever talked about, there's actually quite a few sessions going on regarding downtown renewal and the idea of amending that, so additional investment can happen in both the downtown. There's two sectors, right? There's this downtown and riverfront.
The riverfront is set.
So, yeah.
Right now, we're just talking about
Downtown, got it, okay. So, but focusing on amending that, so there could be additional investments tied to downtown renewal and housing, but other things tied to that, and there's a lot of potentially really exciting things going on with that. So those should be really interesting. There's 2 or 3 sessions on that over the next few months that I'll continue to remind commissioners about. For people who don't know, there's going to be kind of a joint event tomorrow at the Farmers Market Pavilion. And it's going to be huge discussion of the climate friendly areas under CFAC and the CFAC parking open house. So it's an opportunity for people to come in and weigh in on various things, sort of information sharing opportunity. What I'm interested in is it's kind of 3 sort of disparate topics, and they're sort of bringing a bunch of the public together to talk about that. So sort of interested in how they kind of wrangle that and how they communicate all these various topics there, but it should be a fun event, and it's, you know, open to the public, and, you know, food and all sorts of other things that are beyond there. And then I'm going to say this over to Danielle shortly, but just a reminder, and Louisa brought this up last session, I think, but with the bylaws that were revised a couple of years ago, nominations for chairs, I'll let Danielle talk about sort of the next steps for elections and next commission terms.
What's that acronym CF?
Climate Friendly Equitable Communities, CPAC.
Also known as the night.
Let's not go down that road. Okay, so you can just go to the next slide. So, yeah, basically what you're looking at here is our roster right now of the Sustainability Commission. And Art, Farley and Louisa, we both have let us know that they won't be returning for fiscal year 24. And so what you're looking at here is basically what we know our roster could potentially be next year. If anyone else is planning to leave, just please make sure to let Ian or I know so we know kind of what we need to recruit for. If you aren't renewing as a commissioner, please make sure to let your counselor know if you haven't already. And that will just reinforce the internal conversations we're having with staff about filling those vacancies. We do need 7 commissioners to have a quorum, to pass motions, to transact, official business. And so we need to make sure we can at least reach that, given, ideally above that, given that there will be occasional absences and stuff. So we are beginning internal conversations for how we can help counselors make appointments, since the vacancies we're looking at are all by appointment. And so we'll likely come back to you for help with that process. Right now, the process is underway for all of the other commissions for filling vacancies, because a lot of those vacancies they're more like you apply and you just need council approval, but this commission's a little different in that we have those appointments. So yeah, we're working on those internal conversations to see what we can do. You can go to the next slide. Well, okay, and so I just wanted to talk a little bit about officers and elections. So there's the 2 roles of chair and vice chair, which are voted on. Laura, do you want to go into a little bit, just like a brief minute, sort of what your duties and what Luisa's duties have been? So to give people a little more insight into what that role is like.
Yeah, just reviewing the agenda. I mean, now that we have a staff person, it's pretty light. I mean, you can do as much as you want, but the actual requirements are pretty light because Ian does the agenda, he checks in. We have all of you to put input what we want to talk about and you see what I do.
Facilitating the meeting.
Yeah, leading the meeting.
Yeah, so
Oh, can I say one more thing?
Yeah.
Since when I first started, there was never like icebreakers or land acknowledgements. And then Fatima started doing the land acknowledgement, kind of the one the city did. And I started doing the beyond land acknowledgement. And so that kind of thing, I think it's open to what the person in the seat would like to do, as well as like an icebreaker. Because when we were on Zoom, Fatima did an icebreaker, which is really nice because we were all on Zoom. But that's something that I think that those little 5 minutes are just up to the discretion of the person, the chair, or we could all talk about it. So, other than that, it's very straightforward. Going to the
yeah, Eden also shared that there had been interest, and he also thought it would be a good idea for the chairs to meet with the mayor, maybe sort of towards the beginning of the year around September, just to better understand what her priorities are, see where there might be some alignment with the priorities we've set, where it makes sense. And so we could definitely facilitate making that happen.
Yeah, we do meet twice. We do.
Oh, okay.
We usually do. We meet
Oh,
once
okay.
at the beginning and then we do the report. So you do have to present to the council twice, or
Right.
one informal and one more.
Right, and wasn't that also historically with the city manager, and then when it changed with Public Works, with that kind of meeting included a meeting with Public Works Director? My recollection is that annual meeting was with city manager and.
Okay.
It's no longer out of the city manager's office.
I think with the program being in Public Works, it would be something that would be probably either just with the leadership in the mayor or leadership with the mayor with the Public Works Director as part of that. That's where the program is now, yeah.
Cool. So, and then basically to give you a little bit insight of how those elections happen. So any commissioner can nominate a member of the commission for the position of chair and vice chair. That nomination needs to be seconded. The term is 1 year. And for the past, well, I don't need to go that. According to the bylaws updated in October of 21, we did see that nominations for new officers would normally occur in May and elections occur in June. So that would be next month. And so a question we had for you guys was, do we want to follow that timeline, or do we want to return to the previous practice of electing officers in the next fiscal year? And that would give the opportunity of all the new commissioners who start would have a chance to, weigh in on who their officers would be for the year. So I kind of wanted to open that up. Yeah.
I want to speak against that because that was how it used to be and it was very awkward. When my first meeting I came to, I had to vote and there were like 2 people running. I didn't know any of them. It felt very awkward because you raise your hand, everyone sees it. And the 3 new people all said, this is really awkward. We don't like this. And we changed it. And I also don't think it's appropriate for someone who hasn't even seen what happens to be like running for chair or vice chair. And if they don't know anyone, then what are they actually voting on? Are they going with the group? Do they vote on, they have nothing to base a vote on. So that's why we changed it. So I think we should at least stick with it for a while. And if everybody wants to go back, but I personally don't think we should go back right now.
I second that. I think all of ours.
Yeah, our first time we were just like,
It sounds more democratic and all, but it doesn't work because you're ignorant and you're voting. So.
So then sort of a follow-up question to that was, do commissioners who are transitioning out of their seat still vote on next year's commission, on next year's officers?
I would say yes, because they have knowledge of who's been in the room.
Yeah.
That's the opposite of the folks that don't have knowledge of who's in the room.
Okay, so then,
They're commissioners. Right, I mean.
You can choose to abstain. You're
Right,
gonna be selected off.
anyone can,
Yes.
correct. I'm just saying, as they're still commissioners.
you can't take away their ability to vote.
Right, I mean, no, I would think that would be odd.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think there was
These are
any recommendation of taking away that vote. It was like historical practice has it been if somebody's cycling off.
Oh,
Yeah, it was
for
more like
leadership
we
of
were
the next
wondering
cycle.
what
Oh,
was
okay.
historical.
Yeah.
I wasn't
Yeah, no, there was.
motioning to remove arts ability. Keep an eye on you.
Where you live and.
Going on the reference page.
So, okay, so then this means that next, yeah, we just pulled up the bylaws in case we needed to go there, but it doesn't sound like we do. That means that next month we'll be doing nominations. And then the following month we'll be doing elections.
Just a quick, super quick, and I'm sure it's in the bylaws, but in this environment, what's the difference between the chair and the vice chair duties, like in a nutshell?
The vice chair is just like if the chair is absent, the vice chair would run the meeting, and then at the meetings when we've met with the mayor, both of us were there. I think, maybe not both times, but support, it's like a support.
Yeah, and it sort of might vary depending on who the chair or vice chair are, how collaborative they, end up being.
Yeah, and there've been occasions in the past, I think, when somebody's had to move out of the city or had to leave, that was the chair and the vice chair then assumes the chair's position as well. So there's a little bit of just administrative governance for that as well.
I'm going to excuse myself and head for the door as we wrap up. My son, who lives in London, England, is in town in Eugene for 4 days. And my one night that he's not at his mom's house is tonight. So I'm heading out of here. Thank you all.
Thank you.
I'm just bummed he didn't bring his son. Yeah.
That's it for staff updates.
One thing that in the past, people like on the side would be like, hey, what do you think about running for chair? Just to because you don't want to nominate someone that like hates the idea. So that's something that you could do if you see people in there and you're like, oh, I think they would be a good chair this next year. you could go and ask them or email them or something, just to check in. That's something that I think
You don't wanna stay another round?
I can't. I can't be chair. It's only 1 year.
Can you be on the commission again?
I can't.
Oh,
But I can't be chair.
Can you be vice chair?
No, so I already was.
Oh,
I don't know if that's actually explicitly stated or not.
Yeah, I don't. But
need more commissioners.
That's for sure.
I will be speaking to Jennifer and Mike about where your commissioners. And make sure that Alan and Lucy know they're gonna have to get on the list. But that's 4 commissioners, that's pretty serious.
I've been talking with Alan about it.
Oh, good, okay, then I won't have to mess with
yeah, people that you to.
Ask all your friends who might want to be
Yeah,
on
that
the
I-
commission, because the counselors don't know who.
Well, right, so maybe that should be. Like the ones at large, do you put that out to public notice or something?
They apply like the other commissions.
Yeah, so yeah, the ones that are not appointed by the specific counselor, that's open to like the normal commission, the planning commission, the human rights commission, but for the ones that are ward specific, that's initially up to the counselor to appoint. And we consistently say, if you would like help identifying names, let us know. But we can't impose names on them and can't make choices to be made. We kind of have to give them information and let them decide.
I can talk.
Yeah, but we can,
You
Well,
talk
it
to
seems like in
me.
the application process for the. At large, that you say what you wanna, if you wanna be in one of the wards, or you wanna be in, you know, I don't know.
That
the
you, for the
ordinance doesn't,
general,
the ordinance
at
doesn't allow that.
large, actually, none of the commissioners have to be from a certain ward.
Right,
Everybody could be from the same ward. That's the only people who
Oh, I
get
see.
interested. So like you're not in my ward and I appointed you, and if you're applying for at large, you put down what ward you're in, but it's not a requirement.
Have to be a city resident.
Oh, you know, actually, we've had some people apply for commissions that aren't. I don't know about this.
This is written in it's in the code.
Written in there.
do you ever actually get more applicants than you have positions?
With the open seats, I'd have to go back and look, but I think when the 4 open seats that are council appointed or council voted on, they did, I think they had 10 or 12 people from there.
Right, so there's something to choose.
Yeah, I mean, that's the idea, is to provide names, multiple names to council members to let them know, but they're under no obligation to choose any of those names if it's for their ward. And that has been the challenge thus far.
I think we're concluded, but we can stay in chat.
Remember our trophies, and I already had mine. It was, oh.
And I, for once, it's not me doing that. I'm always the person that's doing the kind of thing. Oh, wait, not there yet. You're welcome.
So.
And again, yeah.
It's fun.
Have the actual PowerPoint in front of us if we want, like, this is so tiny. Oh, yeah, and like, I like to see it. I mean,
No.